What if I told you that one of the most beloved television hosts in history was once told she'd never work in entertainment again? That the woman who brought joy to millions of people every day for nearly 2 decades first had to overcome rejection, heartbreak, and a career-ending scandal that left her isolated and broken? This is the story of Ellen DeGeneres. Not just the smiling face we know from daytime television, but the woman who transformed her deepest struggles into a beacon of hope for millions. It's a story of resilience, courage, and the power of authenticity in a world that often demands conformity. From a small town in Louisiana to the heights of Hollywood success, Ellen's journey wasn't a straight line to stardom. It was a winding path filled with obstacles that would have broken many people. But Ellen didn't just survive. She thrived, and in doing so, she changed the landscape of entertainment forever. Today, we're going to explore the untold story of Ellen DeGeneres, the struggles that shaped her, the courage that defined her, and the transformation that inspired a generation. Ellen Lee DeGeneres was born on January 26, 1958, in Metairie, Louisiana, a suburb of New Orleans. But her childhood was far from the carefree existence many might imagine for a future comedian. Ellen's parents, Elliot and Betty DeGeneres, divorced when she was just 13 years old. This wasn't just a simple separation. It was a traumatic upheaval that would shape Ellen's worldview and her relationship with trust and stability. After the divorce, Ellen moved with her mother to Atlanta, Texas, a small town where being different wasn't just noticed. It was scrutinized. Ellen was already beginning to realize she was different from her peers, not just in her sense of humor, but in ways she couldn't yet articulate or understand. But the real trauma was yet to come. Ellen's mother remarried a man who would become a source of deep pain for the family. Ellen has spoken about how her stepfather sexually abused her during her teenage years. When she finally found the courage to tell her mother, the initial response was disbelief, a betrayal that cut deeper than the abuse itself. This experience taught Ellen harsh lessons about speaking truth to power, about the cost of honesty, and about the importance of believing and supporting those who are vulnerable. These lessons would later become cornerstones of her public persona and advocacy work. Despite these early traumas, Ellen found solace in making people laugh. Comedy became her armor, her way of processing pain and connecting with others. She would entertain her family and friends, turning even the darkest moments into opportunities for levity. After high school, Ellen attended the University of New Orleans, but she dropped out after just 1 semester. She wasn't built for traditional education. Her mind worked differently, creatively, and the structured environment of academia felt restrictive. What followed were what Ellen would later call her survival years. She worked a string of jobs that had nothing to do with entertainment. She was a house painter, a hostess at TGI Fridays, a car salesperson, and even worked at a law firm doing clerical work. But Ellen wasn't just working to pay bills. She was observing every interaction, every frustration, every small moment of human absurdity became material for her comedy. She was unknowingly building the foundation for her future success. In 1980, at age 22, Ellen made a decision that would change everything. She decided to pursue stand-up comedy seriously. This wasn't just about following a dream, it was about survival. Comedy was the one thing that made sense to her. The one arena where being different wasn't just accepted, it was celebrated. But the comedy world of the early 1980s was brutal, especially for women. Ellen faced rejection after rejection. Club owners didn't think female comedians could headline shows. Audiences sometimes walked out simply because a woman was on stage telling jokes. Ellen's material was also different from what was popular at the time. While many comedians relied on aggressive, in-your-face humor, Ellen's style was observational, gentle, and surprisingly profound. She found humor in everyday situations, in the small absurdities of human behavior. One of Ellen's most famous early routines was called Phone Call to God. It was a seemingly simple bit about calling God to complain about various things. But it showcased Ellen's unique ability to find profound humor in life's biggest questions. This routine would later become legendary in comedy circles. But success didn't come overnight. Ellen spent years driving from club to club, sleeping in cheap motels, performing for audiences of 5 or 10 people. There were nights when she questioned everything: her talent, her choices, her future. The breakthrough came in 1982, when Ellen was named the funniest person in America by Showtime. This wasn't just recognition. It was validation that her unique voice had value. But even then, the path forward remained uncertain. Ellen's big break came in 1986 when she appeared on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. This was the holy grail for comedians. Carson's approval could make careers. Ellen's appearance was flawless, and Carson himself came over to congratulate her, a rare honor that signaled she had truly arrived. Carson's endorsement opened doors that had been previously closed. Ellen began appearing on television regularly, building a fan base and establishing herself as a unique voice in comedy. In 1994, Ellen achieved what many considered impossible. She got her own sitcom. Ellen premiered on ABC, and Ellen DeGeneres became one of the few female comedians to successfully transition to television stardom. The show was successful, but Ellen was living with a secret that was eating away at her. She was gay, and in the mid-1990s, that wasn't just personal information. It was potentially career-ending information. Ellen has described this period as one of the most difficult of her life. She was achieving everything she had dreamed of professionally, but she was living a lie personally. The stress of maintaining a false public persona was overwhelming. She was in a relationship with actress Anne Heche, but they had to be incredibly careful about being seen together. Ellen couldn't talk about her personal life in interviews, couldn't bring her partner to industry events, couldn't be authentic about who she was. The internal conflict was tearing Ellen apart. She was taking medication for anxiety and depression. She was drinking more than she should have been. The success she had worked so hard for felt hollow because it was built on a foundation of secrecy and shame. Ellen realized she had a choice: continue living a lie and slowly destroy herself, or risk everything for the chance to live authentically. For someone who had built her career on truth-telling and genuine connection with audiences, the choice was becoming clear, even if it was terrifying. Ellen began to consider something that seemed impossible: coming out publicly. This wasn't just about personal fulfillment. It was about representation. Ellen knew there were millions of young people struggling with their sexual identity who had no visible role models. But she also knew the risks. Gay characters barely existed on television, and openly gay actors were essentially blacklisted from major roles. Ellen would be taking a leap into the unknown with no guarantee of where she would land. In 1997, Ellen made a decision that would change television history. She decided that her character on the sitcom Ellen would come out as gay. This wasn't just a storyline, it was a cultural earthquake. The episode, titled The Puppy Episode, aired on April 30th, 1997. Ellen's character accidentally comes out over an airport PA system, and the episode dealt with the aftermath with humor and heart. But the real bombshell came when Ellen herself came out in real life. She appeared on the cover of Time magazine with the headline, "Yep, I'm gay." She also did a coming out interview on The Oprah Winfrey Show. The response was immediate and polarizing. Ellen received hundreds of thousands of letters from grateful fans, particularly young people who felt less alone for the first time. But she also faced unprecedented backlash. Advertisers pulled their support from her show. Religious groups organized boycotts. Ellen received death threats. Some television stations refused to air the coming out episode. The criticism was relentless and often cruel. Ellen's show was canceled after one more season. Her career in television appeared to be over. She was told by industry insiders that she would never work in entertainment again. Ellen fell into a deep depression. She felt responsible for the show's cancellation and the jobs that were lost. She questioned whether coming out had been worth the cost. The woman who had brought joy to millions was struggling to find joy in her own life. She retreated from public life, spending time on her ranch with her animals. Ellen has described this period as a time of profound loneliness and self-doubt. The entertainment industry had essentially rejected her, and she wasn't sure if she would ever find her way back. But Ellen's story wasn't over. It was just beginning a new chapter. During her time away from television, Ellen began to heal and transform. She started therapy, began practicing meditation, and reconnected with what truly mattered to her. Ellen realized that coming out hadn't been a mistake. It had been the most honest thing she had ever done. The pain she was experiencing wasn't from being authentic. It was from living in a world that wasn't ready for authenticity. Ellen also began to understand that her suffering had given her a deeper well of empathy. She had experienced rejection, isolation, and the feeling of being fundamentally misunderstood. These experiences would later become sources of strength and connection with others who were struggling. In 2001, Ellen met Portia de Rossi, and their relationship became a source of stability and joy. Portia supported Ellen's desire to return to entertainment, but more importantly, she loved Ellen for exactly who she was. Ellen began performing stand-up again, and audiences welcomed her back with open arms. She realized that while the industry had rejected her, the public had continued to support her. Her authenticity had created a deeper connection with fans than any scripted performance ever could. In 2003, Ellen got another chance at television. She was offered her own talk show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show. This time, Ellen approached the opportunity differently. She wasn't hiding anything. She was bringing her full self to the role. The show was an immediate success, but more than that, it became a platform for Ellen to spread the message that had emerged from her struggles. Be kind to one another. This simple phrase became Ellen's signature, but it wasn't just a catchphrase. It was a philosophy born from her own experiences with cruelty and kindness. Ellen's show became a safe space for people of all backgrounds. She featured stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, helped families in need, and created moments of pure joy that people desperately needed. Ellen's transformation from struggling comedian to cultural icon wasn't just about personal success. It was about changing the world around her. Her courage to be authentic gave permission for others to do the same. Ellen became one of the most influential advocates for LGBTQ+ rights, not through politics or activism, but through visibility and kindness. She showed that gay people weren't threatening. They were neighbors, friends, and family members deserving of love and respect. Ellen's show ran for 19 seasons, ending in 2022. During that time, she gave away millions of dollars, launched countless careers, and created moments of joy during some of the darkest periods in recent history. When the world felt divided, Ellen's show was a place where people could remember their shared humanity. But perhaps Ellen's greatest legacy is the message that authenticity, even when it's difficult, is worth it. Ellen's journey from hiding her truth to living it openly showed millions of people that they didn't have to choose between success and authenticity. They could have both. Ellen's story reminds us that our struggles don't define us. How we transform them does. The woman who was told she would never work again became one of the most successful entertainers in history. The person who felt isolated and rejected became a beacon of acceptance and love. Ellen's journey teaches us that resilience isn't about avoiding difficulty. It's about finding meaning in it. Her struggles with family trauma, career setbacks, and social rejection became the foundation for her empathy, her humor, and her impact. Today, Ellen DeGeneres is remembered not just as a comedian or talk show host, but as a person who chose courage over comfort, authenticity over acceptance, and kindness over cruelty. Her life is proof that no matter how dark the night, dawn always comes for those who keep moving forward. Ellen's story continues to inspire people facing their own struggles, their own moments of doubt, their own decisions about whether to live authentically or play it safe. Her journey reminds us that transformation is possible, that resilience can be cultivated, and that our greatest struggles often become our greatest strengths. In a world that often seems divided, Ellen's simple message remains powerful. Be kind to one another. It's a lesson born from struggle, refined by adversity, and offered with the hope that others might find their way to joy a little more easily than she did. Ellen DeGeneres transformed her pain into purpose, her struggles into strength, and her authenticity into inspiration. Her story reminds us that no matter what we're facing, there's always hope for transformation, always possibility for growth, and always the chance to turn our struggles into something beautiful. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to like this video if Ellen's story inspired you, subscribe for more stories of triumph over adversity, and share this with someone who needs to hear that their darkness doesn't define them. Their light does.